So that's basically what I have to say tonight. So I think we'll open up to a period of questions, if anyone has them.
Does anyone have any questions for Eliyahu tonight?
The brother over here.
Excellent. Here we go.
This may seem like an off-the-wall question, but it keeps coming on my mind. Do you think Yeshuah wore a four-cornered garment with tzitzits on the corner, or do you feel that he wore tzitzits on his garments? And do you feel that he wrapped a filling on his arm and a box on his head? And do you believe that he prayed in the morning and in the evening? And if you do you think these are things that we as believers should be doing in reference to keeping the Torah?
Well, I think this is really an excellent question. And I want to answer the question specifically. But before I do, I just want to explain something about what Yahweh is doing today. You see, a lot of us who are of the remnant, we've been assimilated into other cultures. So all of these things are new to us. And you cannot go from a place of not knowing anything about any of this as to what's in the Scriptures, and then all of a sudden keep it all exactly the way it's intended to be. You can want to, but it's really a growing process. And what I believe is that there are people, many remnant people that are being called towards Israel, and they are responding, and they are obeying. And there is a living process that is going on for each of them. And this is why different people do different things. You know, our radio program is called On the Road to Zion. And the reason that we chose that is because we literally are returning to Zion. And, however, there's a road going there. And people are in different places on the road. So our mentality about this is that we do not demand that everybody be on the same place on the road. You can't stand on the same square foot of dirt that I'm standing on the road. So things are going to be a little different for you. Your viewpoint's going to be a little different from mine. I have room for this in my outlook as to what God is doing with Israel. And I just want to say that so that nobody would feel condemned about anything I say about any of these things, or I hope would not judge me about where I am on the road, because I'm on the road too. And where I am on the road is I believe that Yeshuah kept the Torah but did not follow the customs of the Pharisees. And I know many people disagree with that today. There are books out that essentially say that Yeshuah was a Pharisee. However, this is not the testimony that I find in the Gospels. And so therefore, I do not believe that Yeshuah was a Pharisee or that he kept the customs of the Pharisees. I believe that what he did is kept the commandments of Yahweh and probably some of the customs of his people, which is something different than keeping the traditions of the Pharisees. Because what he said about those is that they were commandments of men that actually circumvented the commandments. And in many cases, you know, that was really true. But I do believe that he had a four-corner garment with tzitzit. That's what I believe is probably most likely as to what he had. And what I think is that if I wore a four-corner garment, I would want to have tzitzits on it. But I don't think the commandment is that you must wear a four-cornered garment. with tzitzit. Do you understand the distinction I'm making? I think what the commandment means is if you do wear the four-corner garment, it should have the tzitzits on it. So that's my understanding at this point in time about it. Clothing styles have changed in the last 1900 years, and there are four-corner garments, but it's not something that's even easy to buy today. And I don't really feel a necessity for me to have to create that. Now, if I saw the commandment to mean that I had to have a four-corner garment with tzitzit, then I'd do that. So that is how I see that particular point. Does that answer your question? Sister?
I've been studying your series on Revelation. I'm a partner, blessed to be a partner.
Blessings.
And there are teachers that put forth that we have entered the final 7 years. But you say you think that we have much longer to endure. So my question is how you came to that conviction. Has Father, is there a scripture or,
Thank you. Well, I have really a lot to say about this. This is going to be included in the Revelation series of books that I'm writing. And when you start talking about things having to do with Bible chronology and so on, it becomes some of it quite complex. So it's not easy to give a simple answer in this kind of forum. But what I will say is this, that I think some of us have been kind of naive about the second Exodus. I think some of us have thought that just the way we are now, that we can get in our SUV or whatever and head off to the second Exodus. And the truth is, it really can't be that way. When Israel went out of Egypt, the Scripture tells us they went out according to their ranks. And when Moses was sent to Israel, he was sent to the elders of the tribes of Israel. And what I'm telling you is that the government of Israel was all in order in Egypt before they ever went out. And where we are at right now, we're right at the beginning of this, really, of the gathering of the remnant. There are many more that need to be gathered. Many of them right now are in the church system, and they are yet to be awakened to this truth. This cannot possibly happen in 7 years. That can happen, and that we can become fully ordered according to the order of Israel. And so this is one reason why I say this, that this work has to extend over a longer period of time. And the biggest obstacle to it is ourselves. We have to be changed, and we have to become Israelites. And we're in the process of that happening. This is not meant in any way to be a criticism of anybody. I don't want anyone interpreting what I'm saying as a criticism, because I'm simply talking about a necessary process that has to happen. We have been assimilated into all of the nations, and we have just been totally conditioned by the world. And you don't overcome all of that by going through some Torah studies, and then all of a sudden it's all gone. This is a growing process, and it takes time. And here we are basically at the beginning of this time period, now leading up to all these events. And it's hard for us. So what about the people that are still part of the church system, that haven't even come out, that haven't even been awakened yet? So is it realistic to think that we're only 7 years away from Messiah returning? I just don't see that as part of, as realistic in the timetable that Yahweh has set out. It's also not realistic, I believe, according to the timetable set out in the book of Revelation. And in my book, it talks about that somewhat. And I've talked about this in some of our programs, too. But I think it is a mistake for people to be believing that all this is going to be wrapped up in 7 years. What will happen with that, I think, disappointment can be a killer. If people set their mind on a short date for this, put everything they have into making it to that date, then you get to that date and it doesn't materialize, then what? I think what we need to have is a mindset that we're signed up for the duration, right? We are part of Israel. Whatever Israel's future is going to be our future, and that we're going to give everything we've got to what Yahweh is doing. And however short or long that may prove to be, we are going to be there. And I think that is how Caleb, at 80 years old, managed to still be there to go into the land and drive out the giants. He didn't set a time limit on his faith. And I think that's really important for us to take the long view. I will tell you absolutely what I believe, and because I believe this is absolutely true in Scripture, that the generation of 1967 will not pass away until all of these things occur. But at the same time, I will tell you that our God is a righteous God, and He is a merciful God, and He is going to give people every opportunity before He allows the punishment to finally come. And there will be a separation work that is going to occur, just like happened in the first century, and it will take time for all of that to be fulfilled. So that's why I see it the way that I do. And I really wish people weren't so quick to say, oh, we're so close and it's going to happen within the next 7 years, because we don't have the evidence of that. It's not there. That would happen if Yahweh was not holding back the winds. So from that standpoint, I can understand why they feel that way, because it's all a house of cards. We all know that. And we're just looking and we're thinking, wow, this is going to fall over any day. And it really is the mercy of Yahweh. That's the only thing that's keeping that from advancing that quickly.